Welcome to a new episode of the You're Not Wrong podcast, a podcast where Gen X and a millennial talk about culture back then, culture right now, and mostly agree to disagree. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the millennial.
I'm Nicole, and I'm a Gen Xer. I said I'm in the... I don't know. I didn't say that right.
I don't know, but I forgot to kind of intro the You're Not Wrong If last episode. Or I guess
you did.
Our next episode, since we're filming from the future right now.
We are, which is very in line with what I'm going to talk about today.
Yeah, so what's going on, Nicole? What are people not wrong about this week?
Well, before I say that.
Okay. You have a question for me?
What's your earliest childhood memory?
Wow. Okay. My earliest childhood memory.
Not a traumatic one.
Okay.
Keep it positive.
Just kidding. My earliest childhood memory actually is of a photo shoot my family did.
Oh my God, that's cute.
I can barely remember, I kind of remember I just don't know what happened I think the photo shoot happened first.
Oh.
Because I also remember I remember a lot about my brother being born.
So this was after your brother was born.
I think it was
the picture.
I think it was before my brother was born.
This was just
because I remember specifically the fabric that my mom was wearing, a tan suede shirt.
Oh.
And I remember how she was wearing her perfume that she always used to wear.
Oh wow!
And
Smells.
so I just remember cuddling up to her shirt, and there's a picture of me from the photo shoot on her. In that position. So I'm sure they took a lot of photos. I'm sure it wasn't that moment. They took a lot of photos.
So that's your earliest one.
Yeah, and then also shortly after they were having my brother. So I remember. Okay. I remember specifically I had a shirt that said it said I'm a proud big sister. And it had a picture of a stick figure girl holding the hand of a stick figure boy. And I was so pumped to wear this shirt. I would take the shirt out and look at it and be like, I can't wear it. I want to wear this shirt so bad. And then when my mom went to the hospital,
you had the shirt on.
I get to wear this shirt.
So I wonder if I were to ask your parents if they would remember any of that
Probably
differently.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure
they wouldn't remember it.
I don't think they were. I think I've asked them do you remember this very specific shirt? And they're like, I don't.
Have no clue.
Don't recall you having that. Were you there? I'm like, yeah, that's there.
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking a lot about memories and much like
All Alone in the Moonlight,
right? Because I would ask my son, do you remember one time I took him and one of his best friends to Comic-Con. This was about 5 years ago. And that night I'm not gonna embarrass him too much on it, but he was emotional, and I'm like, what's wrong? And he was like, this was the best day of my life.
Did he remember?
I asked him the other day if he remembered that, and he was like, no. And that made me really sad.
There's a few things that my parents are always like, that didn't happen. And I'm like, I have the scar. I know it physically happened.
Well, it's funny you say that because this week in the Gen X file, I'm going to talk about something called the Mandela effect. Are you familiar with this?
I am familiar with the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect is an observed phenomenon in which a large segment of the population misremembers a significant event or shares a memory of an event that actually didn't happen.
Yeah.
So just like your parents are no, you never were almost killed by
that photo shoot never happened.
Yeah, or you weren't impaled by a fence. That's not that scar. And you're literally that's where this came from.
And then I look and I'm like, oh my God, there is no scar.
Right. That's the Mandela effect.
Right.
So that's what we're going to talk about today in the Gen X file.
Okay.
You want to do it?
Let's go.
All right.
You know what? I like this topic for you in a Gen X file.
Why? Because I can't remember anything?
I think that's just you being a mom. I have a theory.
It's also me being old.
I have a theory that once you become a mom, you can no longer pay attention to anything that's happening in front of you. Or if you do, you get 15% of their full attention. And then everything else is just stuff that you're not. You're why are you thinking about that?
Yeah. It's mom brain is a real thing. You don't know about this, but it actually starts when you get pregnant.
Okay.
something happens to your brain.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you too much about it because maybe one day you'll experience it and then you'll be like, oh shit, Nicole actually was right about this.
Yeah.
Something happens and your brain doesn't function right.
Right. Because
I don't like it.
You have to traumatize your children some way.
Some kind of way.
Why not by forgetting everything they said?
So I literally don't remember hardly anything. I have to write everything down.
The reason I like this is because your music is the X-Files.
Oh.
And now we're finally, I feel like I always pick weird, like, conspiracy theory topics, and now we're finally getting into one with appropriate music.
Well, you know what? It's so funny because Mandela Effect actually has a lot of paranormal sort of, like, stuff around it.
I don't want to jump.
Okay.
But, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this.
What?
About, like, the multiverse?
I actually, not a lot, but
Okay.
I'll get into it a little bit.
Okay.
So first I wanted to just talk a little bit about the other thing that I think makes this a very Gen X file is that the name of this phenomenon is based on Nelson Mandela,
Right.
which is a big figure from my childhood.
Yeah.
And so
Who everyone thinks died.
everybody, he is
He is dead now.
But the whole point was like,
Wait, are we sure?
I think so. I actually didn't look up like the specific. Did I?
When he
I know
actually
the year
died?
he died.
Allegedly.
But see, this is the thing that went crazy with Mandela is that he was in a South African prison in the 1980s. He was
Right.
a huge figure in the apartheid movement. He ended up being jailed, but was later on released and became a huge humanitarian hero. And that was in the 80s. He got out of prison in 1990, but it was like people thought he died in the 90s.
People thought he died in prison, right?
In prison. People,
Right.
He actually was released. There's
Right.
like a picture of him partying with Naomi Campbell. That's something I remember about Nelson Mandela. So he lived a very like full life into the 2000s.
Was he not a president of South Africa at some point?
He did become president of South Africa.
Okay, yeah, because like
I think.
I thought.
Yeah, he was
right.
president of South
Okay, yeah.
Africa. Okay.
No,
Jason remembers.
we don't even know. No, I remember.
Used to be like in the 80s and 90s, we were big into South Africa for some reason. Like America was all about South Africa.
Well, probably because they were going through
Democracy.
apartheid, democracy,
Yeah.
Commonwealth.
Yeah,
and
it was
so
sort of
a lot
like-
of things. Apartheid being, if you're unaware, which
Basically like Jim
I would
Crow,
hope you are.
South African
Right.
version. but
Essentially, the
worse.
civil rights
movement of Africa.
America in South Africa.
Right.
And he was
Nelson
like
Mandela was like MLK.
MLK.
Right. But he was in jail. Like they were like, no.
And maybe that's what happened. Maybe people were like, well, we didn't get ours.
So, and he died
Maybe,
soon. Like,
yeah.
he's probably dead. Do you know what year Mandela died?
Are you going to tell me like he died of COVID or something?
He died in 2013.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
He died
I thought he was dead before
He
that.
died in 2013.
I'm not going to lie. The fact that he lived through like the whole
He was here.
doing what? Like, why did we think he was dead?
Everybody thought he died in jail in the 1990s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he actually was still alive when my son was born.
See, okay, I remember talking about this because I had a memory of him I remembered him as being a president of South Africa.
Right.
And so then people were like, he died in jail. And I was like,
How could
did
that
he
be?
go to jail after being president? That
No.
doesn't make sense. He was black before
He died-
and after.
Yeah,
so
he could have been president.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
he did not die in jail. But basically what happened was there was this paranormal consultant named Fiona Broom. And she was at a conference talking with people about the tragedy of the former South African president, Nelson Mandela.
people were like, president?
Who died in a South African prison in the 1980s. But then in actuality, he was freed in 1990 and died in 2013. And everyone at the conference was confused because they were like, wait, Mandela, we thought Mandela had died in prison. Like, how could he have been the president and then didn't die until 2013? Or he was still alive, basically, when she gave this presentation. And so this was in 2009 when she gave the presentation. So he was very much
still alive.
And people were like, no, he's not. He died. And she's like, no, he's actually alive.
No, I have
And
him
he
right
went
here.
on to live like several more years after that. But
Oh,
everybody
man.
at the conference was so confused, and like everybody was really sticking to this memory that they had that he had died in prison. And so
Was it like a 9/11 situation where they're like, no, I remember where I was when we found out he was dead?
no, I don't think it rose to that pop
Okay.
culture status, but everyone just generally was like, what are you talking about, Fiona Broom? He's dead. And she's like, no, I'm talking about him in my speech. He's not dead. And so she went on to coin the phrase the Mandela effect. And there's sort of like 3 prominent features of this phenomenon. And I actually got this from the website Very Well Mind. They talk about a whole lot of like just things that happen in your brain that have to be sort of explained. And so there's 3 prominent features of the Mandela effect. One is you recall entire events that simply did not happen.
Like Nelson Mandela dying.
Like Nelson Mandela dying.
In prison,
which he really didn't. He also got out and went on to become the president. That's one is so
crazy.
Strange. You also have a warped memory where some aspects are partly or wholly false. Okay. So sort of like you're talking about the picture you guys took. Your mom might be like, no, I had on like a
blue
blazer.
Yeah, denim jacket. Yeah.
So, but your memory is different for some reason. And then also several unrelated people share almost identical, contorted, or inaccurate memories of an event or a thing. So it's not just, so for it to become a sort of a Mandela effect, it has to be more than just you. It's like there's a group phenomenon that is reinforcing this sort of like false memory that you have. And so that makes it even more real because everybody's saying it.
Because it's like, there's like a few that are coming to mind. I don't want to ruin anything you're about to say, but there's definitely a couple where, there's like a movie, Shazam.
Yeah.
That like everyone was like absolutely sure happened, but then did not happen at all.
I actually didn't include that one because it was talked about so much.
So there's a new movie now called Shazam.
There is a movie called Shazam.
There was, in some universe that's not this one, a movie called Shazam.
But there actually was not.
Right, but there was. And people like remember, like the art from this movie. Like someone said to me, do you remember that movie Shazam? And I was like, yeah, the one with, oh God, what's his name?
Well, okay, here's the thing. There was a movie with Shaq called Shazam.
Okay.
But people, Jason is like, what is going, he's laughing because he remembers that movie. There was a going on thought.
Sinbad was the guy.
No, well, he was in the movie everybody remembered as Shazam. There was, people said that Sinbad did a movie called Shazam, which he actually did not.
See, and that's the thing is like, okay, I fucked up the names, but like I specifically remember him in a genie costume.
But he did not do a movie. But that did not happen. It didn't happen. You're having the Mandela effect.
Right. That's been one of the ones where I'm like, no, hold on, that did happen.
Because I think that one's from your time. Maybe a little bit more so than mine. It was in the 90s. You probably were like, would want to see Sinbad and Shazam in the 90s.
Yeah,
Whereas
for
I would have been too old for that, I think.
Yeah.
So I didn't really pay too much attention. But I love Sinbad. You know, Sinbad was funny and like a lot of stuff.
He had his moment,
Yeah. But that movie never happened.
So that's one of the ones, like I'm sure you're going to have a list and I'm going to be like, oh, that one yes, that one no.
Yeah, but that one, see, I didn't even include that one because I'm like, clearly she knows that this is a Mandela effect.
That one was I know it now. Okay. But when I heard about it, I was like, that's impossible.
You literally felt like it did happen?
Yeah. I was like, no, that happened. I've seen, like, and someone asked me, like, have you seen the movie? And I was like, I don't think I've seen the movie, but I remember seeing, like, a VHS, like, tape cover of it. Okay. And they were like, that's impossible. That movie did not exist.
So I think also what happened with Shazam is that Sinbad played up on the phenomenon
later, but I'm talking like
in 2017.
I'm a millennial. He talking
did
about
an
like
April Fool's joke where he actually showed like some like a DVD cover of.
This is not
Shazam.
what I'm talking. This
really
was before.
Literally felt
this was like Mandela effect is just now being talked about. I'm doing the math on how Mandela was in prison and the president at the same time.
Right.
And then I was like, oh. This one, like the list came out and they were like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? And there were a few where I was like, no.
You really thought Shazam happened. Anyway, it didn't. So
there's a movie now. There's no Sinbad.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the genie.
And I like the Sinbad version better than what we got.
Even though the Sinbad version didn't happen.
I'm just going to say it was funnier.
That's funny. Before I get into like the science behind the Mandela effects, because you just brought up like one that's pretty common that people didn't know about. So there's like a couple other ones I just wanted to like.
Do you want me to talk about them now, or do you want to get?
I'm gonna get into some ones that I think may be surprising to you, but I just want to make sure because I feel like maybe You believe a lot of these. So you know that the Berenstein Bears is they actually spell their name with an A.
To this day, I will never know which one's right.
It's an A.
I don't believe you. I'm sure that's right. I'm sure you're correct.
Not stain.
Again,
It's a stain.
tomorrow you could call me and ask me the same question. I'm going to be like, I don't know which one it is. The one with the bears. I can't answer anymore because I don't even know which one's real anymore.
You don't. I'm telling you. Why is it so hard to believe
I don't
that
know.
it's an A and not an E?
I mean, I'm sure that you're not lying to me. But I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. What about the fact that it's Jif and not Jiffy peanut butter?
Oh yeah, that one is wild because like that's another one where like if you asked me what's the peanut butter, I'd be like Jiffy.
You would?
Yeah, but then if you were like no, it's Jif. At this point, I have been so beaten down that I would be like, yeah, sure, of course, whatever you say.
When you go to the store, it literally says Jif.
Here's the thing, I believe you. I'm just saying, if you asked me not out of context, like what's the name of the...
You would say...
If you said, Elizabeth, what's the name of the Bears? I'd be like, girl, I don't know. Don't even ask me.
You don't even want to try to get your brain to say the right thing.
No.
Because it's gonna keep going
because
back
I want
to
to say Berenstein.
It's Berenstein.
And I know it's not that.
What about Jif?
I would say Jiffy. And then you'd be like, it's Jif. And I've just given up. I'm like, yeah, sure. That's what it is.
We'll go back to a few more.
Okay.
But I want to talk a little bit about...
Am I like breaking your mind, the fact that like I actually live in this other reality?
Yeah, it's really weird to me that it works on you so well. Because I thought you would be not this way.
I know you're going to get into the science, and I know that there's like parascience about this, but also I think a lot of it has to do, like, remember my age range of being a millennial on the internet at the time I was on the internet, which would have been like 2007.
Okay.
Is when I'm 13, I'm getting on the internet for the first time.
And that was 2007.
The
internet is
thereabouts, and the internet's a wild, crazy world
at that time.
And Tumblr is a thing, and so I think it was easier for these kinds of things to like
proliferate.
Yeah, and to become like part of a collective conscious because we were all talking to each other. Okay. And one person gets it wrong, and you're just like, yeah, and then everyone starts saying it, and the next thing you know, someone's like, it's Jiffy, and you're like, fuck you. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Jif.
Right. Okay. Whatever.
Oh, God, this is crazy. But you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe
I think that's what. Personally,
I think you're more impressionable in that way. That it's like, no, it's this. When actually, I'm telling you, it's actually. I think not.
Too. Like now, there will be things that come up in the future that I will be like, you really don't know the difference between, like, right. But because these things were happening in that time when I was part of that group. Yeah. I do think it makes it just a harder. Well, because the Mandela one, like I said, not to interrupt you, but that Mandela one, I knew. I was like, that's crazy. Like, there's no way. No. But that was because that wasn't part of my time.
No, for me, it was. And I was like, what? You're right. He didn't die in prison. He went on to live a long life. But that was part of your
time.
Another one that was part of my time that I had a really hard time with was, and Jason, you being a man, like the Fruit of the Loom.
Oh, the cornucopia logo, or something?
They said that the Fruit of the Loom logo has never had a cornucopia. You know, the fruit is like grapes, an apple, a banana, whatever. Like, I remember there being the fruit coming out of a cornucopia. And they're saying the cornucopia never existed.
Like a brown wicker basket.
You know what a cornucopia is? It's like a horn. Don't you remember the logo having a cornucopia? It never did.
It's just the fruit. They're like in space.
It's just the fruit.
Yeah.
They say that people swear a cornucopia was there, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that one I'm like.
There's a lot of internet lore around it. Even there is a couple things online, and I don't know if we can believe this or not, but there's a couple old pairs of underwear where people have a washed out logo with the cornucopia. Yeah,
that happens. There's people who will be like, I have the VHS of Shazam. And I'm like, let me see it. Shazam. I want to see. Bro, I wish you had that movie.
That one blew me because that was from my time. And then the other one was, this is a real common one, was the Monopoly man and his monocle.
Yeah. He does not have one.
He does not have a monocle.
Yeah.
But some people are saying that the reason why we think he has a monocle, because everyone is like, he does have a monocle, he does. And they're like, actually, he never had a monocle.
Yeah.
But they're saying that people may have been confusing him with the Flanders Peanut guy, who does have a monocle. But I'm like, those are I don't confuse those people.
I think there was just personally, I think there was, because doesn't Scrooge McDuck have a monocle?
You would know better than us.
Am I getting really weird?
He came out in your
I think
time
he
a little
does.
bit more. Actually, no, he was out. But
I think there was like a time period where like cartoon rich men had top hats, monocles, and canes.
Right.
And so I think it would make sense that people would just assume
he had a monocle.
That he also had a monocle.
But why do we see these things? Why does that happen?
Because memory doesn't make sense, and because we change memory even as we're living all the time. And
well, some people have said that the Mandela effect is actually proof of time travel.
Well, that's okay. Go ahead.
And that when this happens,
this is more fun than my thing.
There's an interference from an alternate reality, like a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
So there's this sort of what the paranormal woman who came up with the term, her argument in that side of the, sort of reasoning for this is that it's like pseudoscientific, that like we have parallel realities going on at all times. And
sometimes they kind of get a little bit mixed up.
Sometimes they get a little too close.
Yeah.
And so that's what you said, the multiverse. That's basically what's going on, in that like within each universe, there's alternate versions of events that are happening all the time. And so in one of those realities, Mandela died. There's a cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom.
Yeah.
And there was a Shazam movie with Sinbad.
It also kind of makes that...
Which, that sounds like a better...
universe?
I think that universe makes more sense to me, although I don't want Mandela to die.
Is it the cornucopia? Or like...
It's just like, come on, we saw this. Why are you saying it's not real? Maybe I'm in... This other universe makes sense.
Well, I think this theory is fun. But also, I think it also is like a way to say why some people remember some things, and like some people have certain... No one has all the Mandela effects.
No. There's ones that affect people more than others. Clearly, Shazam got you. I have no difficulty believing that Sinbad did not do a Shazam movie.
I need to see the pay stubs. I feel like it's in a reel somewhere. But no, but then also like... The cornucopia I knew, and then there's like, even in my age range, there's going to be things where some people probably know the Sinbad movie's fake, or they know it's Jiff.
And it's Jiff, not Jiffy.
Or Berenstein, or whatever. But like, everyone has a mix is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Where like some people are like, no, that's real, that's not. But then no one's getting it 100% right all the time.
And again, I think it's based on age, culture, what you paid attention to, what you consumed, what you bought, things like that. But there's other theories that propose that the Mandela effect evidence changes in history because of time travelers.
So basically a time traveler came...
And they mess things up.
But that would still be like the multiverse thing.
It is.
Because some of us would still remember the other thing.
Yeah. Right. So that whole theory, those all go together. Different parallel universes existing. Time travelers going in between them.
Yeah.
Messing up stuff. Bringing stuff over. Messing up our consciousness.
It would kind of make sense, like, if there was a glitch and half of us got stuck on... If there's like two... I know. Let's just have fun. Okay, let's just have fun, guys. I'm not saying
there's another.
I'm not saying I believe, and yes, there's actual like explanations with like neuroscience and memory. Yeah. But let's just have fun.
Oh, you don't want to go to the
We
real?
Can. So, this is more fun.
So okay.
So like if there was
there's parallel universes existing right now.
So we're not gonna necessarily collide with a parallel universe where like Nelson Mandela didn't exist at all. Right, because that's too far away.
He existed.
So if we're going to collide with one, it's probably going to be one where he does exist.
And then South Africa maybe didn't get rid of apartheid when
it took longer, right?
Took longer,
and so
or
maybe
it was overthrown by some really bad civil war.
It would make sense that like the timeline or the universes that are like kind of closer in events,
similar things,
would have more.
Yeah, and like keep in mind, parallel universes mean that we exist in another universe,
right? And well, that's my point. Is that like
we're doing this right now in another universe, maybe
or not.
There's
also a universe where we didn't even meet.
Right.
And a universe where I don't even exist.
Where neither one of us exists.
And you don't exist, or whatever.
We could be switched. You could be the Gen Xer and I could be the millennial.
Now that I would watch.
That would be weird. It's kind of like that sometimes too, but...
This, that, and the third.
Exactly. You do get old sometimes, but...
I'm on a weird part of TikTok too, where I've gotten into the old church lady part of TikTok, and I don't even... I'm like, hi, it's my people.
You can hang with them. I don't. But the thing is... Yes, that's how parallel universes work. If people don't know,
in this theory,
there's this universe replicated, but slightly different.
Yeah,
slightly different.
Like if
things
one
going
thing
on.
changed,
if Nelson Mandela actually died in prison,
right?
In the other universe, there's different timelines going on as a result.
Right.
Now, how that affects the Monopoly man not wearing a monocle.
Or the cornucopia
not being there is where I'm lost.
But that's also where people, like, when you said about the, like, some people have underwear.
With it on there.
They say it's because they're from
the other universe.
And, like, somehow they just kind of, like...
fell into ours.
Yeah, and so that's why their underwear looks different than our underwear.
And they may not ever feel normal. They're like, what's wrong with me? Like, I never felt normal, and I have the underwear with the cornucopia on it.
Is that what I need to feel normal, is the cornucopia underwear? Because I feel like...
If you don't feel normal...
I never felt normal ever.
I haven't either. We might be in the wrong universe.
Yeah.
I wonder what the time travelers. They're saying the time travelers.
The time travelers are coming and what? Not killing Nelson? It doesn't matter.
This is getting weird now. We're not crazy.
So I've heard both. I've heard there's a glitch in the Matrix, that these things just naturally happen. At certain points, there will be glitches in the Matrix.
Okay.
So like if you believe in me taking over the Mandela effect episode is the Mandela effect episode. If you believe in the glitch in the Matrix, then essentially we're all living in the same universe, but there's a glitch in this computer system, essentially. And so some of us would have the software that says Mandela died. Some of us would have the software that says he lives. But the people who have the one that says he died, they have the glitch. So
they think that.
They think that it's not actually true.
No, but
that's
in
the
their
glitch.
mind.
The parallel universes one is where the universes kind of touch, which makes that thing. Then there's another one, which is this time traveler situation where people can actually... There's also, like, people can move between universes.
Right.
There's a time travel situation.
There was a whole movie series based on it.
Yes.
Called Back to the Future.
There was. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of parascience around this. It could also just be that memories are kind of funky.
It's funny you say that because there is a scientific...
What makes more sense? What makes more sense?
I don't know. Hear this out, and maybe you'll still you'll still think about the parallel universe, or maybe you'll side with science. Very few people do. Very few people side with science.
What is science? We're in Florida. We know, what is science?
Listen, it's not even just Florida now. There's very few people who side with science. So I wouldn't be surprised if you stuck with the parallel universe rationale.
Well, I think a lot of people are starting to really believe, at least from being online, it seems like a lot of people are really believing this whole everything is a simulation.
We're in the Matrix.
So
the movie The Matrix didn't help at all with that either. Right. And I mean, considering all the things that are going on or have gone on, the Matrix rationale does not seem too far-fetched to me now. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But there's a scientific rationale as well, and it's just basically memory inaccuracies that get reinforced by society. Again, when 100 people start saying no, like it's Jiffy, it used to be Jiffy, and the company changed it stealthily. This is the one that kind of is weird to me.
Actually. Say what you're going to say, and then I'm going to say something else.
This is the one that's weird to me.
That's how this show works.
In that these people online and stuff and doing the research on Reddit are basically saying that these companies changed these things at some point and never said anything. and then they want to make us think we're crazy because we remember how it used to be. So that it actually used to be Jiffy, there used to be a cornucopia, the Monopoly man used to have a monocle.
Yeah.
But then the companies changed it and didn't expect for us to notice. Why would they do that?
Well, good question. Let's talk about that because as I again take over the episode, because it's funny you should say that. We're actually seeing this happening right now in this timeline where you and I live.
What happened?
Currently. So there's there's books that are being changed and movies that are being changed where the new versions have different things. So for one example is the cover and okay, I didn't actually prepare for this episode. This is top of the dome stuff.
Give me a,
the cover of The Little Mermaid from, what is it, like 1989 or whatever, the first cover has two towers that appear to be penises. And then they went back and changed them and got rid of them.
Oh.
Whether
okay,
that
I'm
is
not familiar with that.
Right. That's like one of the examples that's old. But currently what's being changed is there are books that are being changed right now. We've talked about this, like Huckleberry Finn, Roald Dahl books
They're changing the content.
Are being edited. Yes, and I'm not actually saying this political or anything, but just in reality,
are they taking words out or are they changing sections?
They're changing words and taking words out.
That's
so
scary.
It could be possible that in the future, and the only reason because people were talking about this from like a political perspective.
Yes, for sure.
But from my perspective, as someone who clearly knows way too much about the Mandela effect, I immediately thought, this is only going to make things worse.
It's going to mess with people's minds.
Because now someone's going to have the BFG by Roald Dahl, and they're going to have one from, 1989, and then one from 2024, and they're going to be they're going to be differences.
Can you imagine like reading Little Women and then, or like going to read it to your kid or like something like that, and then it's changed?
So another one that people talk about a lot is, did Han Solo shoot first?
That is one.
So that's one where there are actually 3 different versions, and they all do exist, and they're real. And George Lucas has come out and said that he wishes he hadn't changed it, but it's too late. It's changed. So you could have any of the 3 versions.
That freaks me out.
And so when people say that why would the companies change it, I agree. In the case of Jiffy, there would be a paper trail of your patent being changed.
Why? Like, did it cost too much to print the FFY or the FY now?
Right.
So we went Jiff.
But there's always gonna be evidence.
There would be evidence.
What happened in the past. Now, I think in the future, the issue's going to be, and I'm talking like 10, 15 years in the future, when you have only digital assets of things. So, for example, imagine that in like the Star Wars or the Disney examples that I just gave, a lot of people don't own those VHSs or DVDs. VHS. People don't own DVDs anymore, Blu-rays or whatever. So if you're always seeing on Disney Plus and you're just paying your subscription,
it can change.
It can change, and even if you have like a digital copy, they can update that too.
Same with music.
Exactly.
That's a really easy one to change.
A really good one.
Yeah.
There's Taylor Swift has done this. Beyonce has done this. A lot of major artists have done this, where they actually have gone. The song has released. And they have, Lizzo did this, we talked about that one, and they go back and they changed it. So if you only have a digital version, if you were on streaming, you're only going to get that version in the future. You might say to yourself, and I'm thinking of the Taylor Swift one specifically because I remember when it came out, I was like, that is such a stupid part of that song. And she got rid of it. There's like one song where she's got, spelling is fun. She says that like in this. I might be telling my kids that existed. And they might think that I'm crazy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have consumed media, read books, and then you go on to talk, not just your kids, you just like 20 years down the line, you're in the office, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember the Beyonce song, Spazzing On, blah blah blah, and they're like, it doesn't say that,
right?
And then you look like the crazy old person.
But yeah, I mean, so that's my only when people say like,
why would they change?
How could this be? Companies companies do this at times. Now the peanut butter company, maybe not.
The monocle, why?
I don't know. Okay. I don't know, but it does happen. So
I agree. Those cases they're politically driven, and maybe some,
or maybe not. The Han Solo one's not.
Well, it kind of is, because didn't he take out shooting?
There's one where in the first version, Han Solo. The question is, does Han Solo shoot first when they're in the bar? What is it, like Tatooine? Jason doing it. Okay, yeah. So they're at the bar, and he's like, he's talking to whatever the guy's name. I can't remember, but in the first version, he shoots first.
Mm-hmm.
In the second version, the other guy shoots first. Mm-hmm. And the third version that's out now, they shoot at the same time. I believe is the sequence of events.
So let's talk about the scientific aspect of why this happens. Are you familiar with the term confabulation?
No, but I can kind of figure out what it means.
It's just basically like making up stuff.
Okay.
Fabricated memories, misinterpreted. It's not that you're doing it on purpose. It's just that you're telling a story and you remember that Elizabeth had on a green shirt and her hair was up, but like that's actually not what happened, but like in your mind, for whatever, you were influenced to see that.
That's so funny. I was talking to two friends about a series of days.
Yeah. And
what day happened before the other.
Right. What y'all were doing.
One guy was like, this is what happened. And then me and the other guy were like, that's not how it happened at all.
That's
like it was the other way around.
The other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
That's confabulation. I mean, literally, I think this happens a lot with couples too. I mean, in arguments. Or parents.
Yeah.
Or like whatever, where it's like, you did this, and they're like, no, I did this, and you're like, I literally saw you, or you literally said this. And so it's just you remember things differently, and you tell yourself that your story is true.
Living with my father.
I think this men in general are like, no, that didn't happen that way.
It's like, I looked in your eye.
Like, wrote down everything you said, and they're like, that's
There's
not
video.
what I said. So source monitoring errors is another scientific term for why this happens. These are instances where people fail to distinguish between real and imagined events. An example is like your mom telling you a story about a time, and you know what, this happens, that you might have got lost somewhere, like lost at the carnival, and she tells you the story so many times, even though you don't remember it.
You remember it.
You start to remember it, and then you start to add stuff to it.
That's crazy.
Like, oh yeah, I do remember, because I remember smelling popcorn, and then it was like a man that stopped me, and he was a security guard, and he had a gun, and it's like, you didn't even remember it. How you know all this happened?
I mean, I guess
that
I wouldn't.
That doesn't happen to you, source monitoring errors?
I was going to say, I guess I wouldn't know, because how would you know? But I can't think of many times where like people call me out and be like, no, you added to that. You know what I'm saying?
Or like, it would have to be something you don't remember at all, but because they've said it so many times, you start to remember it, and then like remember it in your own way.
I think there's stories that people have told me from them that I'm not a part of at all.
Okay. Like
there's a story my mom tells from her childhood that like I was not even alive.
Yeah. Clearly.
My mom was like in her 20s, and even though I was not there, I like when she told me have like fashioned this like like how I think it looked.
Yeah.
And so even though that's probably not at all how it looked, because that's how I remember it now.
Yeah.
That like if we talk about that story, I can like almost
draw up the vision.
I can like kind of see it in my head, but I'm like, cool. I know that that's not how that went down.
That's cool. I like that though. I think that's a cool thing that we do in our mind. I think that happens a lot when you read too. You envision what the world is like, what the people look like, and then somebody else may have a completely different version. So I think it's the same function.
To
of
the point
brain.
where like there's stories that my grandparents tell, and like I think I finally like saw the house that they were talking about, and I was like, oh, that's not how
what you envisioned.
Not how I thought it was.
And then like frequently reported errors that become a part of the collective reality. We've already talked about that.
That one's really normal.
So the one that was sort of weird to me based on this, like they are actually incorrect things that were reported. So an example of this is Princess Diana's crash footage was not real. It was the crash footage was actually a simulation, a reenactment.
Oh, but they reported it, and so people think it's real.
Because they showed it so much.
Yeah.
People thought that, like, they simulated how people were swerving around and how she ended up getting in the crash. But that wasn't really the crash.
They didn't have video of it.
Right, now, maybe they had video of the results of the crash, like the cars all banged up, but nobody was, like,
kind of like the lunar landing. It's not like we have video of that. I mean, how do we have... No, I'm kidding.
And the thing is, the internet has only made this worse.
Yeah.
Because people get online and they build communities based around falsehoods. And what once was in your imagination or something you were like, oh, no, it used to be Jiffy. Now, it's like tens of thousands of people saying, no, it actually was Jiffy. It was Jiffy. Like, my grandmother used to always be like, let's get Jiffy. Make sure you don't forget the Jiffy.
We all have that friend that, like, you can be like, no, this is what happened, right? And, like, you know it's not. But they're like, yeah, that is what happened. And it's like, girl.
It didn't happen.
Girl, we know that didn't happen that way. Like,
right.
Stop being so, like, what's the word?
Confabulating?
Gullible.
Oh, naive.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that you kind of get what Mandela effect is about.
Yeah, and by the way, on the internet, it's super easy to have groupthink on the internet. Like, it happens all the time. Yeah.
It's all groupthink.
Super easy.
I wonder what like the future Mandela effects are going to be. Like, what are some things that have happened here now that people...
COVID.
So what are you guys like? I remember when like the dead bodies were being wheeled out, which actually did happen in some places.
And they're going to be like, it's... Well, and you know what's tough is, like I said, the fact that sometimes things are changed.
Yes.
And so it creates a basis for people to say, look, this does happen.
This is scary.
And I'm not saying that, obviously, there's this, like, events happen or they don't happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to argue that they're going to change there's a presentation. I'm not trying to argue that there's going to be, like, you know, that we're going to find out nothing happened, you know, like everything was a conspiracy. But what I am saying is that because things do change, unfortunately, it makes it easier for people to have evidence to go back to, quote unquote evidence, and say, look, they changed Ariel. Why wouldn't they change this? Why wouldn't they change that?
Right.
The Diana crash wasn't real. Why is this? Why is that? So unfortunately, I think it's only going to get worse. And like I said, especially with things being digital, I don't think there's a way around it. I think it only gets worse, and distrust just becomes even more pervasive.
Well, why don't I quiz you on a few of these? Okay, so that you can walk away knowing what is real and what is not.
Do you want to put it on camera and I'll look there?
Sure. Let's see if this works.
No,
my microphone. Well, how am I going to talk? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
The Mandela effect quiz. It's going to be backwards.
Really work. Yeah, that's fine.
Doesn't.
You can just show
do
me
it like that. So I'm going to show you some slides, and I'm going to ask you. Well, we'll just talk about it. What is this man known for? Do you know who this is? You have no idea who this is?
I do not know that. What is the Kiki Pose?
I thought this might be too old for you.
I'm sorry to this man.
You know what's so funny is, like, I was like, I think I did all the ones from my generation. Jason, do you know who this is? Who is it? It's Ed McMahon. You're not familiar with this one.
Is he a No, I have no idea who that man is. I'm sorry to this man.
You've never heard of the Publishers Clearinghouse?
Oh, is that where they give you a house or something?
Oh my gosh, you were so young. Ed McMahon, you've heard of the Publishers Clearinghouse. It used to be this thing where people...
Didn't he do wrestling, Ed McMahon?
No. Oh my God. I picked the wrong ones.
Are you sure?
I know. I picked the wrong ones. Anyway, it'll still be fun. There was this thing back in the day where you could, like, mail in, oh my God, trying to win the Publishers Clearinghouse. I actually did it one summer because I was bored. It was like all these things you had to fill out, all these forms and like stuff you had to send and come back, and they send back out. It was all by mail, and then by chance you might win. And Ed McMahon supposedly would show up at your house with, what did she have there?
$5 million.
$5 million.
Did this not happen?
People used to actually win the Publishers Clearinghouse. Apparently some people won it. And there was this whole thought about Ed McMahon actually showing up to your house to present you with the check. Okay. Do you remember this, Jason? But guess what?
He didn't? I'm looking at a picture of him right now.
Never worked for the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Because he was a wrestler.
No, he was not.
Oh, okay.
He worked for American Family Publishers. He actually worked for the company that did it, but he never actually handed anyone a check.
Who is that man?
He is Ed McMahon.
But you said he never handed anybody a check.
That's actually not Publishers Clearinghouse.
Oh, okay. Who is that?
That is Ed McMahon, but it's not Publishers Clearinghouse.
Is it a wrestling check?
No, it's not. Anyway, folks, Ed McMahon never came to people's house with checks for Publishers Clearinghouse. This one doesn't make sense to you because you just don't even know.
Yeah, over my head.
Let's go to one maybe you do know. You know about Snow White. Now, what is the famous line?
Well, I know what I think it is, so I know it must be wrong.
What do you say? What do you say to this mirror?
I thought that you say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? But I know that that cannot be right because this is a test about things being wrong.
It actually is not mirror, mirror on the wall. This is a picture, guys, of Snow White, the mirror in Snow White that people think.
Yeah.
They said, mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
Yeah.
And actually, that is not what she said. It's magic mirror on the wall.
Oh, okay.
Who is the fairest of them all?
Okay.
Not mirror, mirror.
Close enough.
Okay.
I wonder why that one happened.
People just Mandela effect. That's the answer.
I mean, time travel, obviously. Keep going.
Somebody in the other universe said mirror, mirror. All right. What is the famous greeting from this movie?
Why are you showing me people who... Oh, wait.
Elizabeth,
is this...
I know you need to know this movie.
Is this that one with the moth on her face? What's it called? Silence of the Lambs?
I was about to say, we're not going to be friends anymore if you don't know this movie.
He says...
What does he say?
Something about Clarice. That's her name. Right?
Yeah, her name is Clarice. He says that. He says what?
I don't know what part we're talking about even. Like,
it's a famous line.
It just took me so long to even figure out who this man. Again, another man that I'm sorry to this man.
I should have just put Shazam up here. You don't know any other good ones.
No, I don't know.
Okay,
something about Clarice.
Everyone associates this movie. This is Silence of the Lambs, by the way. With the phrase "Hello, Clarice."
Yeah.
Everyone says that he says "Hello, Clarice."
What does he say?
Spoken in a very creepy voice. But in actuality, Anthony Hopkins never said that to Jodie Foster. He never says "Hello, Clarice."
Ever?
No.
In the movie?
No.
Does he even say Clarice?
He may say Clarice, but he never says "Hello, Clarice."
Oh, okay.
Does that surprise you guys? You guys aren't very... Yeah, just Shazam, huh? That's the only one. Okay, in Jiffy. All right.
Keep going.
Let's go to another one. What's this guy's name?
Smokey the Bear.
Is that your final answer?
It's the answer.
His name is Smokey Bear.
Fuck you.
His name is Smokey Bear.
Okay,
His name is not Smokey the Bear.
All right.
You might question your entire childhood if you don't realize that his actual name is Smokey Bear. It's no the. Does that surprise you at all?
That just feels like
You think they're what? They're...
It feels like something where like they fucked up the marketing and we fixed it for them. And so you're welcome, Park Rangers.
All right. Let's go to another one. There's not many here. I thought you were going to be really shocked at these, but not so much.
Not so much.
What's that line?
Beam me up, Scotty. From Star Trek?
Yep. You know these guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, nowhere in Star Trek does Captain Kirk say, "Beam me up, Scotty."
What does he say?
It never happened. There have been a couple cases of him saying "beam us up" or even "Scotty, beam me up," but "beam me up, Scotty" never happened. And there is actually, fun fact, there's actually a Nicki Minaj song called "Beam Me Up, Scotty."
Everyone says that.
Mandela effect has gone so deep that people have now made songs titled after it, "Beam Me Up, Scotty," but that was never said.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
I guess.
Why did we think that?
I don't know. That's the thing is, like, at this point in my life, I'm just kind of like...
You don't care?
People tell me, they're like, what happened here? And I'm like, that's this. And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, okay. I don't know what you want me to... Like, okay, well, I'm not going to fight you on it.
Are you defeated? Like,
I am, I think, a little defeated.
You're defeated by how your brain, like, misguided you all this time. And deceived you, kind of.
I'm just more like, you know what? I'm constantly being told that I'm wrong. So
Yep.
sure, yeah,
In
okay.
this episode, you're wrong a lot.
I am wrong. No.
Last one. What is the name of this topping?
Well, I know it's whipped cream.
But it's ready what?
Ready Whip.
How do you spell the whip?
I don't like this game.
Why?
Is there no H in it?
There is no H.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. If you want to beat the Mandela effect, think what you think it is, and then realize that that's not the answer, and then
say the
figure
other
out what
thing.
the other thing is. It's like if you were like, what's the peanut butter? At this point, I think it's Jiffy, so I know it's Jif.
Actually, yeah. This is... Oh, well, I'm presenting. How do you escape?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
If you go here,
Ready Whip.
WIP, Ready Whip.
You just...
Reddit went nuts on this one. Okay?
Again, I just feel like that's...
People said that there were cans that had WHIP on it instead of WIP, and that for some reason they had changed it.
I'm not fighting anyone anymore. I've lost.
Given up?
I've
You're
lost
defeated?
the will to fight about this. I just
Wow.
feel like if that's what someone presented me with, I'd be like, sure. And then they were like, just kidding. I photoshopped this. It was actually with an H the whole time. I'd be like, okay. And then they'd be like, no, like it was actually a blue can. And I'm like, all right. Like,
There are blue cans.
babe,
too,
whatever
by the
you
way.
want.
I think that could be another one. But yeah, so that's the end of the quiz. You got all of them wrong.
That's not true.
Which one did you get right?
Beat me up, Scotty. Well, this one.
You didn't.
By default.
This
that
one
happened.
you got right by default.
Yeah,
Which you
'cause I'm smart.
You started to use some strategy and realized.
Well, I know the ones that are wrong, but I'm not going to know what the right is. You know, it's like I know Beat Me Up Scotty's probably wrong because that's the answer I want to give you. But what it actually is, I know Mirror Mirror on the Wall is wrong because that's what I want to say. So what the answer is, I have no fucking clue.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. To beat the Mandela effect, just know that whatever
You think
is true is wrong.
that is really
That's 2020.
unnerving.
It's 2023, baby.
I think that's 2023. I literally think that we need to start like adopting this train of thought in general.
Of just whatever you think.
Whatever you think, there might be another explanation.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Whatever you think
Whatever you think is right.
is not
It's
it.
not right.
Is not it.
There's going to be another.
Berenstein Bears?
It's wrong.
Not that one.
It's Stain.
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
I've never
So
met those
just
bears.
let it
I don't
go.
know those bears. I don't care
Just
about.
say.
I've never met those bears in my life.
So your strategy is like, whatever.
I'm sorry to
just
those bears.
Give it to me. I don't even care anymore.
I mean, yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, like, how does it really affect my life?
That's what I was going to ask you.
So it's like Ready
How
Whip versus
going
not.
forward,
Whatever.
knowing this integral information that you now know because of my quiz, which by the way I got sourced from various places on the internet, a lot of BuzzFeed.
You could have picked some that were around when I was alive.
But
Like,
you know what's so funny?
What?
There's not a whole lot of them. They come along slowly. The Mandela effect is not something that's like proliferated with all of these things. The Mandela effect, I actually think, happens more frequently on a personal level than it does on a whole collective level. Like amongst your family, amongst your friends, amongst your circles at work. Like I think there's where you get into remembering events
where like the whole group remembers.
where the
something.
whole group remembers something that actually maybe happened a little bit differently. As it pertains to like pop culture stuff, they come along very gradually, which I think is good. I don't think everybody should be like, what can we invent for the next Mandela effect? They happen naturally. It takes time.
There's one where I remember Britney Spears in her Oops, I Did It Again video. She was doing an interview and they asked her like, what were you wearing? And she was like, they glued like diamonds to me.
Okay.
And everyone was like, no, you were wearing like a full bodysuit, a sheer bodysuit with diamonds on it. And she was like, no, they glued diamonds to me.
To her
and all she
skin.
was wearing was a thong and then all these diamonds. And then people were so taken aback by this, they actually went to the behind the scenes of the video.
Okay.
That was shot at the time. And she says in the video, like, I had all these diamonds, like, glued onto me. This was my idea. I wanted this concept. And so then they were like, oh, well, the way that it's like position, kind of looks like a bodysuit, and then in live performances she wears a bodysuit with because obviously she's not going to get it glued on for the show. Yeah, so that's another one too, where it's like,
I'm telling you what happened,
but people were like shocked. They're like, "There's no way,"
and they like doubted her to the degree that they had to go do their own research.
Exactly,
I hate stuff like that, but it happened. So that's the thing. These things will come along, and we'll add to the list. There's a website out there where you can go see some of the bigger examples. I've pretty much talked about all of them. There wasn't one that I didn't talk about, which was that the show is not Sex in the City.
It's Sex and the City.
It's Sex and the City.
And
just for everybody.
A&D.
A&D.
Right. Yeah.
Right, not in. Everyone says Sex in the City, Sex in the City. It's like Sex and the City because the city is its own character.
Well,
yeah, folks.
Okay.
It's very just accept it.
Yeah, sure.
So what do we take away from this? Again, other than just like second guessing ourselves, which is, something I was always told not to do, but maybe now it's time to start doing it.
I take away from this, and because it's something I've thought of, as mentioned, is that it's a very concerning time because as I mentioned, things are digital, things are editable, and there's already, with things like the Mandela effect, with things like, internet conspiracies already, there's already people are kind of more apt to believe that they're being duped versus that they were wrong. So, just take, like I said, I'm defeated to the point where I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, whatever you say it is, sure. I'm sure that's what it is. Because also, how does it affect you? I think it's going to be interesting when it affects, like, when
democracy.
When it's something like Nelson Mandela died or did not die, that's like actually kind of like a big oopsie, right? Like, is he dead or not? Like, did he bring freedom to Africans or did he not? Like, we don't know. But yeah, things like the Bears, Smokey, it's less concerning. It's more the concept that is concerning. And then
I agree.
Also the fact that, like, I think either way, if you're one of those people that really defends the way you think, I think that's kind of
dangerous.
I think if you're someone like me who's kind of like, whatever,
you've given up.
That's dangerous.
I agree.
I think nothing's good here.
I think now more than ever, people can be convinced a bit easier.
Either way
than they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that has to do with doubting science, which we clearly talked about a lot about today, sort of going with this very odd metaphysical explanation.
Makes sense.
For things other than science. Again, and I'm not judging either way, although I do judge sometimes when it comes to people like doubting science, but whatever, we're not going to get into that. I think people nowadays are more impressionable than we've ever been, which is crazy because we have access to information more than ever.
But
people don't believe the information. They don't trust it.
Because we also have access to do things.
Bad information.
Right. And like, let's say the Diana Carr situation is like a precursor to, Facetune, AI, deep fakes, where I saw the president say this.
Right.
I saw this terrorist, whatever. Like, a huge political moment it could be.
Right.
And you did see that.
But it was fake.
And the fact that that is possible means that you have to constantly doubt what we do it on a daily personal level. If you're on a dating app or if you're even online a little bit, you're constantly doubting whether or not the person that you're talking to is real or if they
look like they look in the pictures, which most of the time they don't.
And now with AI that can edit pictures, there's even more of that. So we're already now at a point where we have to doubt what we're even seeing in front of
our own eyes.
It used to be you saw someone, they said something, okay,
this happened.
You were there.
You're real.
Now, unless you're physically there, and even then, who knows? Like, and that just to me is more. That's what's concerning. Is that Mandela effect's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And there's never going to, and you can't rein it in now because you used to be able to believe what you saw, and now we're also primed to not even believe what we've seen. That Who cares about the Shazam movie or Shazam or whatever the hell? Who cares what black actor was in that in 1992 or whatever? We've got bigger issues.
Was not.
Well, somebody was.
It didn't happen.
Shaq was in something.
He was in Shazam.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Exactly. I think you're very right. It's harder than ever to sort of believe what you see with your own eyes. So you know what? There's certain things you can cling to that you actually know and believe, and just cling to those things. And everything else, maybe it's up for debate.
Yeah, just be ready to mobilize time travelers when we know.
We'll save that for another episode.
Very weird episode, but it was fun. I like talking about this stuff, if you can't tell.
Cool.
Because I'm an internet person, and this is a very internet digital phenomenon.
Yeah,
that
you were into this one.
I love this internet culture stuff. So we hope you liked it too. If you let us know if we missed any.
I'm sure I did. Clearly, I got the ones from my time period and not the young people's time period. But they were interesting to me. I learned some things. I was really worried. I was like, I'm gonna keep saying one, and I forgot. I like put some away that I'm not calling up now because I was like, I don't want to like ruin the quiz. You had better ones.
Yeah, in my mind, I was like, I don't want to ruin everything. And the Bears were in it. The Bears is like the
quintessential one
after Mandela. It's the Bears. It's the cornucopia. It's the Monopoly guy.
I said those.
It's the not popcorn, the
Jiff,
yeah. But I thought that was going to be on the quiz. I didn't know the quiz was going to be like.
The quiz ones were harder though.
What's this obscure 90s TV show? Whatever. I don't know these people.
Those are ones that are hard. And
Who is this man? I'm sorry.
Need to know this. If you tell people that know that Hannibal Lecter never said hello, Clarice, they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I have to go research this.
I hang out with young people, so they're gonna be like, who's Hannibal Lecter? And I'm gonna be like, did you hear about a guy named Jeffrey Dahmer?
He was the thing it was based
He's
on.
exactly the same, and he's real. And then I'll Mandela them. Anyway, we hope you like what you heard. If we missed a Mandela effect that you're aware of or that you've heard of or something that you want to share with us, please do. We'd love to hear them. Yeah. Or if you have a theory as to why the Mandela effect happens that I did not talk about, let us know.
For sure. Yeah,
but make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. Leave a 5-star review, and we'll read it out loud on the show.
See ya.